Hello everyone and welcome back to Carvenus 14. Now today we are going to be talking about Jinhsi because as you all know, patch
May I pray
2.5
for
is going
anything
to be coming
specific for
out
you?
in
It would be my
literally
honor.
about a week and a bit I think now. So yeah. Now of
I'm
course I am
sure
making
your
this video a
wishes
little
will
bit
come true.
late because the live stream came out on Friday and of course this video is being made on Monday and probably will be released on Monday. So yeah. Why am I making this video, and how has 2.5 got anything to do with Jinhsi? Well, it's simple. 3 out of the 4 characters that are actually in patch 2.5 are actually pretty good with Jinhsi. Now, we're going to go over them. Actually, well, technically 3/2, alright, question mark, because we don't know anything about Frolova just yet. Now, Frolova is the first character that we all are sure of, and we've already seen what she can do. Now, the reason Frolova's an interesting character for Jinhsi is because Frolova's ultimate, her Resonance Liberation, seems to have Hecate doing damage for Frolova. Okay? So, Frolova doesn't do anything. She just waves her wand and makes Hecate do stuff. Okay? Now, by definition, you could consider that as a coordinated attack because it's not an attack that is being done by the user. It's an attack that comes from the user, but it's not them actually doing it. So you could consider Hecate as a coordinated attack. Now, of course, that's us, okay? The game itself may not register Hecate as coordinated attacks, which means Frolova may not be good with Jinhsi at all in that department. However, if she is, we could be looking at a new dual DPS team that can be run with Jinhsi and Frolova. As for who the final slot would be, you could run Cantarella. Cantarella could be the sole buffer for,
May I pray for anything specific
Frolova,
for you?
and she can
It would
also
be my
be
honor.
there to help with coordinated attack generation along with Frolova. So,
I'm sure your
it could
wishes
actually
will
be a
come
pretty
true.
decent team here. But of course, like I said, this is all experimental. This is all just a theory because Frolova, for what we know, genuinely might not have coordinated attacks through Hecate. They might genuinely just be other attacks according to the game. So that might work, that might not. But it's definitely a good shout to try and test it out. Will I be testing out? No, because I have Astrite to save, and I've got better things to do than spend them on Frolova, who I could probably just get in the rerun at some
May I
point, and
pray for anything
people will have
specific
probably
for
done
you?
these types of
It would be my
videos and
honor.
tests to see if Frolova works with Jinhsi. Yeah. Besides, I'm saving
I'm
my
sure
Astrites
your
for
wishes will
a
come
character that's
true.
far more important than Frolova and definitely will boost my damage by a lot more. Because the one thing that Frolova doesn't do compared to other supports that Jinhsi has, like Cantarella or Zheji, is Frolova's outro skill doesn't really do anything for Jinhsi. In fact, it buffs havoc damage, which obviously Jinhsi Spectro, so there's nothing there, and heavy attack damage bonus. Jinhsi doesn't heavy attack at all in her, her gameplay. She doesn't. Well, in her incarnation state, the plunging attack that she does in her incarnation state, that is considered a heavy attack, I believe. Yeah, so that's the only attack you're going to be buffing, which yeah, may as well not exist. So yeah, but that's literally it. So Frolova will really just be there to generate coordinated attacks. Incandescent stacks, I should say. Other than that, she really doesn't do anything for Jinhsi. So you're much better off going for someone like Cantarella or, Zheji. Yeah, which is a bit of a shame because that could have been really good if Frolova did buff heavy attacks, but I mean, sorry, resonant skill damage, but we already have Cantarella for that, so I don't think they would really do that. Yeah. Anyway, moving onwards from Frolova, Rochia, which doesn't do anything for Jinhsi, so we're going to gloss past her. Next is Cantarella. Now, Cantarella is the other support that Jinhsi has in her stock, basically. You've got Zheji and you've got Cantarella. Those are really the only two 5 stars, at least, right? Yeah, those are really the only two 5 stars. Now, Cantarella compared to Zheji, who is better, who is worse? To be fair, they're honestly both the exact same. It's just, on paper, they both buff the exact same, right? In terms of damage, Jinhsi and Jeji will both do the exact same in level of damage in terms, with both of them. Okay, because they both buff the exact same amount. However, Jeji is easier to play because number one, she has a faster rotation. Number two, you can play her while she's airborne as well. So for newer players, she's definitely more friendly. Yeah. And the thing is that Jeji and Cantarella are kind of different characters in a way. Yes, they both do the same thing. Cantarella is more of an on-field damage dealer, whereas Jeji deals her damage through coordinated attacks mostly. Yeah, but enough about Jeji, right? This video is about the banners that are happening in 2.5. So, Cantarella, really, really good character for Jinhsi, okay? In fact, the reason you would actually run Cantarella compared to Jeji is only if you don't have Jeji on your account, or if you have Jeji, but she's being used by Carlotta, who's just a better user of Jeji anyway. Yeah. Now, Cantarella, that doesn't mean Cantarella's like a second option for Jinhsi, like she's worse than Jeji. The only reason people use her as a substitute is because Jeji is genuinely just easier to play. Not that she's better, she's just easier to play, right? Yeah.
I'm
So,
sure your wishes will
is
come
Cantarella a
true.
good pull for Jinhsi? Yes, absolutely. Because Cantarella is quite efficient with her pulls, because she doesn't really have any sequences that boost your party's damage, so you don't really need to... Actually, I don't even know why I'm saying that point, to be honest. Because if you think about it, it's kind of a bad point that she doesn't really have any power locked behind her sequences to help the team. Jeji does in the form of her S4, but like I said, that's pretty far down. So you're not really peer pressured into pulling for more copies for Cantarella because she just doesn't have anything that boosts Jinhsi's damage. Yeah, so going for one copy of, Cantarella is all you really need, and Jinhsi is already up there. A 25% resonant skill damage boost, and to top it off, you get a very, very good-looking woman in your arsenal. Remove the null. No, we're not going to remove the null because this channel is kid-friendly. Yeah, even though I say no to all the kid-friendly stuff. Moving back to the actual topic of the video, guys and girls. Yeah, Cantarella, very good pull. I mean, quite literally, the premium team for Jinhsi is Jinhsi, Jeji, Shorekeeper, or Jinhsi, Cantarella, Shorekeeper. Like, you cannot go wrong with pulling for Cantarella. Cantarella is really, really good for Jinhsi, okay? Now, would I recommend pulling Cantarella for anyone else? Not really. Unless that anyone else is for Alova. So if you're running for Alova, getting Cantarella is definitely a huge buff, right? But other than Jinhsi and Frolova, I wouldn't really recommend pulling for Cantarella. But for Jinhsi and Frolova, yes, Cantarella is definitely a solid pull. You can't go wrong with pulling Cantarella for Jinhsi or Frolova. Now, next character, and the last character, Brant. Brant is interesting, because Brant can actually be run with Jinhsi. It's just a very gimmicky team that you have to run. What you have to run is you have to go Jinhsi, Brant, and Verena. Now, this team does not work with Shorekeeper, and it only works with Verena, and I'll tell you why. It's because Brant has enough... Brant's field time is decently long, okay? He is a sub-DPS, but he's an on-field sub-DPS, like Cantarella, and he deals a lot of damage, okay? So, yeah, his Concerto generation is slow, but to make up for that, he does a lot of damage. And he also hits a lot of times as well, right? With the one where he just spins around the characters and stuff. Yeah, he hits for a lot of damage, okay? Yeah. Not the actual damage itself that we care about, but the amount of times he hits in his combos. They are a very high amount of hits to an enemy. Now, that's why this team actually works. And believe it or not, people have actually done this team of Jinhsi and Brant, and they have found success with it. But of course, the main issue is that, you can't run Shorekeeper with this team. And remember, Brant does buff resonance skill damage. He does buff resonance skill damage, okay? Because he's mainly made as a Chang Li buffer, who's also a resonance skill damage unit. But he mainly buffs resonance skill damage, which is what Jinhsi does. But like I said, the main drawback with this team is that Brant doesn't have any coordinated attacks. The only reason you're using him is because of two things. Well, three things, technically. Number one, you like Brant and you want to run him with Jinhsi. Number two, he gives a lot of survivability to Jinhsi in the form of in the form of healing and in the form of shielding. And number three, he buffs resonance skill damage, all right? And he hits for a lot of times as
May I
well,
pray for
right?
anything
But of course, like I
for you?
said, he
You
doesn't
could
have any
be my
coordinated attacks with his kit. So Brant on his own cannot actually stack Jinshi's
I'm
Forte
sure your
circuit, her
wishes will
incandescent
come
stacks.
true.
So you have to run Verena with this team, which is kind of unfortunate because you miss out on running Shorekeeper, who is just a better unit for Jinshi. Yes, even if you do have Jinshi, right? And you think that Jinshi can't run Shorekeeper because, she doesn't have coordinated attacks, you're wrong. Because characters like Cantarella and, Jeji literally exist, and possibly Frolova as well, they literally exist to give all the coordinated attacks and all the incandescent stacks, I should say, to Jinshi, which is all she needs, right? She only needs one character like Jeji, like Cantarella, and possibly Frolova as well. So yeah, but Brant on his own can't really give Jinshi all the incandescent stacks, so she does need another unit in the form of Verena. You could run Yuan Wu with this team as well if you want, because Brant does heal and he does shield, but Brant's healing is not enough. He mainly focuses on his shielding. Brant's healing is there, but you definitely want a dedicated healer, so definitely running someone like Verena is really the only option. But that basically is it, guys. Like, this banner is absolutely stacked, if you think about it, for Jinshi. Okay, you've got Frolova, a really cool DPS slash sub DPS who has the possibility of working with Jinshi. All right, we're not sure yet, but if people do run tests then and they find out that Jinshi is compatible with Frolova, you got a new team for Jinshi, a dual DPS quick swap team that you could probably run with Frolova and a generalist support or Cantarella or someone like that. Then you've got Cantarella and Brant. Brant is a bit more of a gimmicky character for Jinshi, but you can make it work if you're just really bored and you want to run something new. And Cantarella is there for players that don't have Jeji or have Jeji, but they're using it on their Carlotta team, basically. Yeah. But that is basically it for the video, guys. Really not a long video. I really just wanted to make a quick video talking about the characters for patch 2.5 and how this banner lineup could actually be pretty insane for Jinshi, especially if you're going for different types of teams. I mean, this team literally these characters cover every kind of team that Jinshi wants. A possible dual DPS slash quick swap team for Jinshi, number one. Number two, a typical hyper carry team, right, that Jinshi wants to be on with Cantarella. And number three, a fun, gimmicky, for the lols kind of gameplay with Brant, right? You literally got every kind of team that is covered with 2.5. But that's basically been the video, guys. I have been Carvinus14 and Salam, and I hope you all enjoy the rest of your day. I will see you all very, very soon. Goodbye.